Good morning, everyone. My name is Mona Abdul Manap. I'm from Place Borneo. And this morning, we're going to have a chat. This is a simple talk with some of the industry partners about the situation that we're all in right now. First of all, we hope that all of you guys are safe at home. Don't go out, don't go anywhere, except for Mok. I think you're on duty, right? Going to
Yeah.
airport every day.
Yes.
It's a sad situation for a lot of people, for a lot of businesses. But I think there's a lot of things that we also have to face. And for business owners, we still have to go on. So a lot of businesses, I feel, well, for me, for one, I don't know where to begin for recovery. So this is why we created this as a chance for people to share how are you guys going to do recovery for your own business, and perhaps some of our attendees can learn from that. And of course, to share their experience, how they are experiencing all this at the current moment. And here we've got a few people from the business events industry, but I think some of the ideas or the experiences that they've gone through can apply to any other businesses as well. We've got Gracie Jiki from Place Borneo. We're a professional conference organizer. We've got Eric Van Piglen from Borneo Convention Center, Kuching. So we've got some experience from a venue perspective. We've got Mok Vinia from Cat City Holidays, a destination management company or DMC or travel agency. And I think they're quite badly hit, in tourism and all that. So we'll be hearing from them. And we've got Ellen from IDA Exhibition Services, talking from the exhibition organizer or suppliers point of view. Okay, I'll get up the way now, and we'll start it off with Gracie. Hold on, let me just. Okay, Gracie, I think you
All
can
right.
start
Thank
now with
you.
your
Hi,
talk.
everyone. Just want to quickly say thank you for Mona for putting this together. Just like everyone said, we just don't know where to start and where this is heading us to. But I just want to quickly touch on our side, the conferences and the events, as we all know, and I'm sure everyone is going through the same situation where all our events are either postponed or cancelled. Notwithstanding that, we are also having issues of getting the right slots again. So I'm in a situation where we have conferences that are postponed from this year to next year, and the bids or the conferences that we have for next year, because of the cycle and the rotation of this year's cancel, we are losing another year, if you understand what I mean. That means 2021, our conferences are also moved to 2022. So we're in this situation where we've got to plan ahead. So we're in a very unique industry in conferences and events where it's not just about this year. So I think this year it's recovery time, and I think we need to look at measures how we are going to be conducting ourselves for the conference and event industry, and as well what are the key areas that we want to now look into because of this situation with COVID-19, where we have many issues such as health and distancing and all that. We even have to look at how conferences should be held now. Future conferences should be held, and we need to install all these measures. Do we take temperatures? Do we our audience delegates and move half to virtual or half to there's so many things that I'm sure all of you can share as well, that I am more concerned. Of course, I'm worried. We are all worried about this year. How are we going to pull through? But my concern is the next 2 years from now, where we pull through, but the travel trend is going to change behavior patterns are going to change. People will be probably uh, uh, not too particularly keen to travel to this part of the world because of the long distance, being in the plane. All these factors will come into play now. This has not happened to us before, even when we had other issues, health issues, where we had SARS and all that. But this time, this is reality staring in all our faces to tell us that we have to change our thinking, and we actually would have to change our operations as well because of this situation. So uh, post COVID, like what Eric was saying, is that it may be gone, the virus, but the situation will want us to look at how we're going to conduct ourselves, how our clients are going to conduct their conferences, and what are the areas that um, we need to have in place, or is it going to be a government? Now we need to hear also from the government, from the health ministry, what are the guidelines. So I think there's so many of the areas that's all coming in at one time, and that we need to like really evaluate how we will conduct ourselves, how are we going to go on receiving conferences, and how will we deal with the situation. So that's me for now. I just want to set these thoughts in place that we're still going to be in business, for sure, but how we conduct our business and how we go about organizing and planning for conferences and exhibitions, we'll have to think about all that. That's me for now, Mona.
Right.
Over to you, Eric.
All right. Thank you. Look, obviously, in BCCK, since we closed, well, let me just put it this way. Before we closed down the center a few weeks ago, already we were with my directors, we were sitting and talking about an economic recovery plan already, because obviously we still don't know how much revenue is going to be lost over the next couple of months, but it is massive. And I think it is massive for everybody. I mean, we're a venue, so we can't move around too much. We're sort of a fixed place, and we want people to come to our sort of business place, and that is all gone right now. So it's the amount of business that has been postponed and cancelled will only get worse, I think. First of all, I'd like to just give a bit of a thought to all those people that are sick at the moment. We're sitting at home safe, and these people are suffering. So that's a real bad scenario there. So our prayers go out to these people, and we just hope that they all get well and well soon. So moving on, obviously, we've, as a venue, because we can't move around, we've obviously been looking at these things for quite a long time now. But I think that because of this coronavirus, we're sort of forced to look at business differently. Our business is all part of networking. You want to see people face to face. You want to make business deals. You want to be socially active. And that's all gone. And so now we need to do this from a distance. And again, it's what we said earlier on, although, and hopefully this coronavirus will vanish soon, there will be a legacy behind that will not vanish. I think the business events game is going to be a whole different ball game from now on. Of course, we will still have events coming, next year, whenever it's going to all be recovered, as it were. But I think that a lot of people are going to think twice and three times to travel. It's not only this coronavirus scenario that is, of course, taking the headlines right now, but there's way more behind it. People are getting skeptical, of getting sick or going to places. So I think all in all, I think we, as a venue, have been looking at control measures. Of course, we've been looking at cabins where you can sort of walk through, like the airports, where you can sort of sanitize and sort of check temperatures at the same time. We're looking at handheld temperature control measures. We're looking at all sorts of scanners, etc. But at the end of the day, these things and all this hardware is just a reaction on what's going on now. Because at the end of the day, there are no meetings right now. And sometimes, especially now, sometimes you might not have a temperature, but you still be a carrier. So these things then, and all this heavy, expensive equipment will be obsolete. And so we need to think twice on how we're going to do this. My thinking is more towards sort of what we sort of say, looking at non-core segments. All our core segments, of course, is association business, etc. Your conferences, exhibitions, etc. Congresses, but the non-core side is also something that we have to work on very heavily. I mean, we have Ramadan coming up, of course, but that is going to be cancelled. And that is a massive impact, of course, on the center, which is phenomenal, really. And I think we're all crying about that. But at the same time, we're trying to maybe, come up with takeaway packages and those kind of things. But my team are working on that really hard right now, so I can't divulge too much. And once we are ready with these kind of things, and we will put that in play. You see, I think a big surge in takeaway food in any case. When you look around the area that you live in, maybe you always see these Panda guys and Grab driving around all over the place. But I think for us as a center, I think if we can live stream our conferences or tap into other people's conferences right throughout the world, to have these virtual meetings, I think is the answer, to be very, very honest with you. Because if you can sit in a train and link up to a conference in New York, for argument's sake, depends on timelines, of course, then that's a big win. And I think the world has been looking at that for the last 10, 15 years maybe, but no one really has jumped onto it. And I think that now is the time for us as a venue to be super aggressive in that thinking, to make sure that we can still continue with whatever we do in that sort of way. So I think for now, I'm done. So we'll talk a little bit later again. Thank you, Mona. I'm done. Mark.
Hi. So, good morning, everyone. I think can I start now? Okay. So I think the COVID pandemic is really shocking. And I've been in tourism for so many years. Actually, all of my life in Korea, I've been in tourism, but this is the biggest hit that you ever experience. Well, it's not only in Malaysia. This is the whole world. And well, in Sarawak, lucky that we only have one convention center, and there are not so many of us in the conference industry or MICE or travel industry, okay, or BE. So I guess now is really the time, like, we have to reformat our company steps and also the way we conduct business, like what Gracie had just mentioned. The present situations in this COVID, I can see, like what Eric has mentioned, the Grabs, the Panda, the Live, the booking online for food is like increasing. And also on TV, you have Tonton, Netflix, and Cellcom and Maxis is giving us free 1 gig every day. So you can see that the digital technologies, the digital market is increasing tremendously. 500 times, 400 times. There's a lot of increase in digital marketing. And people are selling their muscles, and all these PPE material, you know, and all those things online as well. We are buying our vegetables, meat, you know, online as well. So I guess for our industry, be it in BE, okay, or MICE, we are now so much limited by no group meetings, no big gathering, no cluster gathering. Probably it will be a virtual business very, very soon, like immediate. It can be a virtual wedding arrangement from one table of 10%. It may be one table of 4% only, or probably you will give the wedding couple ang pao instead. You know, you can't shake hand. So these sort of things. I guess since we are already in this MICE business, or we are now heading towards like uncertainty, we have to be creative to think about a way to go out. I guess for reformatting my company, of course, taking down some redundant stuff is compulsory, but also at the same time, we must somehow show people how we can walk out this way together with our colleague. We must give our staff a confidence that we can actually walk out from here. And of course, we look upon those big developing country, how they do it. I think I've been watching TV for the last 3 weeks. China is now doing domestic tourism. So they are only encouraging the local people visiting local places. So I guess domestic tourism will still work on. But I think it's also the time where we really have to look into our self-empowerment, like how do we train our individual become specialists? You know, we must have more specialists so that one day when we go for a virtual tour, the virtual guide is a specialist, be it a botanist, you know, be it a very good historian. You know, we need people like that, where if you are bilingual or trilingual, is even better. And well, all this while, people don't take safety and cleanliness, you know, very seriously. But I guess now is the time that all of us should actually take precautions on safety, hygiene, cleanliness, you know, very, very caution. Like, I think if we have some tour going on, if COVID is lifted, they must have very good PPE measure that we must take precaution on. The medical aid, hand glove, hand sanitizer, you know, mask, that mouth mask that we have to put on, and things like that, you know, for a start. And it's sad to know that, you know, even some hospital, you know, they do not have enough PPE. Like this few days, when I work in the airport with my guys to transfer the passengers on flight to the quarantine hotel, we are not actually given a proper PPE attire. So I have to thank this Jacqueline Fong for helping me out. Tanoti to actually give me this tudong, you know, and then mask, and also boots cover and shoe cover to make everything runs well. Yeah, I just think that now everyone is uncertain what is next, what is coming on next. But importantly, I think we just have to social with each other more often. I think this conference now is, I mean, this dialogue now is really good. We just have to social with each other a lot of time, think of an idea, you know, it's actually brainstorming is good, you see, because this is not only our problem, as I say, and I think it's whole world. So we must learn from each other. And with the technology now, you know, every day we are watching the news, you know, and we can learn more. And I'm very sure we will be walking out from this COVID positively. And of course, I wish everyone stays safe. Thank you. That's all from me.
Ellen, are you
Yes.
on? Can you switch on your video?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you're up next.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Hi, this is Alan from Idea Exhibitions. So we have been in this industry for the past 20 years. So actually in February, end of February, we have the first hit, which is the ITB Berlin, which we are the contractors for the Sarawak Tourism Board. So our crew have tried to Germany, and we start to build a booth in the morning and tear down in the afternoon. So that is the first hit we have. So in the whole month of March, we think we lost about 5 to 6 events. So I'm going to talk particularly on my industry. So we are more on exhibition contractors. So in any events, there is only 3 parties. There is organizer, the venue owner, and the contractors. And I think for the next 6 months, according to Dr. Noor Hisham, so even the MCO is over, I don't think there is any event coming in for the next 6 months or even 1 year. So on our industry, I think there will be a zero revenue for us. So we have tried to move our business model a little bit. Instead of events, maybe what we can do using our specialty to construct interior, to go for interior design of this. So I think for the direct hit for us in the industry, because we need to gather people around, which is we do not allow to do so for the next 6 months. So there is no business revenue coming in, and that is a very big hit. Of course, for us, we can apply for loan companies, the employer subsidiary, all this, but how long we can last? So I think those in this industry, I think you have to move to change the business model. I think Mona, that is what I'm going to share. Back to you, Mona.
All right, thanks, Ellen. I'm just gonna switch everyone back on. Give me a second here. Wait, I'll be back on. Okay, all right. Gracie and Mock. Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone. I think I've got a few really good points, and this is actually a question and also something that I wanted to ask. Mock, you mentioned about having specialists or individuals who actually are good at what they do at one. Usually, specialist is only at one thing or one or two things. So the question was, instead of taking redundant staff, why don't you upskill those staff? So instead of taking staff you think are not specialists, why don't you upskill your current one so they become specialists? I think I also have the same question. A lot of people think this is the time where you need people who are multi-skilled instead of specialists. So you can keep as few staff as you can in the office, and they can do a lot more things. So I don't know, what do you guys think about this? I think a lot of people have this problem right now. You know, we want to have all our stuff on board, but like Mock say, we are also suffering here. How do we go about this? Mock, maybe you want to start.
Can
Okay. Yes,
We'll go with Mock first, and then Gracie next.
I think from my suggestions, well, I will have to draw a balance.
Mm.
First, for skill, which is professional stuff, where you need they really need time to concentrate. When I say if there is a historian, he got to empower himself, he got to train himself and do a lot of research and study. So the R&D will take a lot of time, so he can't multitask other things. So we have to keep some of this where they are specialists, like a historian or a botanist for that matter. So when people look up for this, we can actually go virtual type of explanations or tour or education tour for them. And we probably need some which are multitasking, but they are probably in-house. They are not on the field.
Right.
So these multitasking people, we just need a few where they are technologies friendly, they know how to do things and like that. So somehow you'll be taking down a lot of those stuff that we used to have. Like we probably not have to even maintain any more tour buses or tour van because virtual will bring them there. We just have to do it like occasionally every week or every month to update the journey. So I think the mechanism of the whole DMC business will change according to the demands.
Gracie, you had something to say?
Yeah, just talking about redundancy, because this is the first thing that comes to everybody's mind. I speak for myself, for us in the PCO, where this year all events are totally wiped out. And the first thing that comes to your mind is, of course, your staff are redundant because there's nothing much to do if you think that way. But we are in a very unique situation, and I'm sure for all of us out there, is that we have businesses for 2021, 2022, and onwards. So by making staff redundant, and so when do you make them redundant, and when do you rehire and retrain? That becomes more expensive. So if there is a way, what we are planning to do is looking at a win-win situation where no one is redundant and where we can keep everyone and keep the skills, but at the same time we have to re-engineer our staff skills, like what you were saying, Mona. So what we are doing now, I think, is that we can't say we're finished. We're not. And I wish we could say, okay, let's close shop and reopen in 1 year's time. It doesn't happen. So what we're doing now, as a PCO, we are going into bidding now, because we have bids after bids to go for Sarawak, for Kuala Lumpur, for Sabah. We are going to work on that, and then all staff who are, well, some staff were specialized in the area and doing this, and somebody, we may now have to realign the work scope where everybody is a researcher, where everybody is going to contribute to look for business, because if we don't do that, then we really will close shop. So we've got to reskill maybe in a certain way, but we've also got to look beyond all this crisis, like the Chinese word for crisis, yes, Alan, is opportunity. So I think we need to look at that. And I when this first hit me, I was almost in a state of shock, of the situation. Just what, it's never happened to me before in this magnitude. Even 9/11, all that, we had our drop, but we came back pretty soon, I mean, within a year. But I feel, and I actually hope I'm wrong, that we won't see any for a year to a year and a half. That's the reality of the situation. But having said that, we've now got to look into reinventing some of things, like what Eric was saying. All this virtual stuff have been there. Even I talked before, when we talked about the Rainforest World Music Festival here in Kuching. I think it was like 15, 16 years ago, a group of people came to me and said, your festival has grown so big, your cultural village is already full. Why don't you sell virtual? And being the IT, not very IT in me, and I said, oh wow, just like watching football live. And the idea, well, of course, at that time maybe it was too soon, but now with what we have and our state government emphasizing on digital technology, I think we may actually see new businesses. If you can agree with me, Eric, that I see that we settings, there's no more classroom theater style maybe, but there will be 2 feet apart seating arrangement, half on physical and half virtual. You may get a lot more virtual because people save money. They don't have to travel in a cabin, or they don't have to spend more money, and you could still charge the same delegate fee because they still safe, and I think upskilling, reskilling, uh, reinventing, and like what Alan said, Alan's going to go into ID work because he's got skilled people in carpentry, in decor stuff. So I think we start to dig up into our brains collectively. And I remember Eric mentioning something about this synergy that we need in this industry. We can't do this alone as a PCO. Mock as a DMC can't do this alone. Alan as an exhibitions contractor can't do it alone. And Eric as a venue can't do it alone. But if we put our heads together, and I think this is the most crucial time where we sit down, and probably this is our first time that we have all sat down because we have a problem, and now we are talking. But I think we have to continue this, and I'm sure we'll find some nice right synergy. Thank you.
Yep, Eric, you had something to add on to that.
Yeah, I think I'll just start off with the sort of the skill training as such. As part of our KPIs for the last many years, we've already had cross-skilling as well. So we've been doing that for a long time. You know what the thing is, though, that you can have people, and obviously all those people that we've employed, we believe that they're good people. But I think that that's not the focus for me. I think that this, at the end of the day, will recover. I think if businesses get rid of people now, where they start retrenching people, laying off people, I think that is silly. I would not recommend that at all, for the simple reason that, again, we will come out of this. We will recover. We are resilient enough as people. And once that happens and everything gets back to relative normalcy, as it were, you will need these people again. And chances are that you will not be able to rehire them again. So basically, you're starting from scratch again, which is not advisable at all. Okay,
more expensive as well.
Yeah, well, it's going to be more expensive. If you lay off people now, you're going to rehire them. They will want more money. That's just what it is. So I think what we've done in BCCK is that we've got quite a strong headcount, not too many. So we are, again, quite resilient in terms of that cost factor. But at the end of the day, again, I would not advise for that. And we mentioned earlier on about something that I wanted to just mention. These are trying times. Everybody's trying to come up with a plan to make money once we get back to normal again. That'll happen. I don't have any doubts that will happen. That this is a massive knock. It's a massive knock for everybody. Okay, right up to governments, right up to the smallest guy on the street. It's a knock for everybody, but we'll recover. The big thing that I would be looking for right now is to take things step by step. Our center is closed right now, but at the end of the day, we can still be helpful and useful. One of the ideas was that we've been nominated, you could say, to be nominated as maybe putting up a hospital in BCCK. The State Planning Disaster Unit has visited us. I met with them, with some of my senior management a couple of days ago, and we're looking at an area. And if we can help, and even if it's 300 plus beds, it'll be awesome for us. And I'd be very proud to be able to be part of that, because I think that right now the focus is how do we get and help those in need, and how do we get over this as soon as possible. And after that, plans will be on the table again. I think we don't need to reinvent the wheel. You know what I mean? I think all these ideas have been there. They'll just be looked at more in depth, as it were. A lot of action needs to be taken in this virtual meeting world. But I think that in our sort of business, the networking will get back, I would say, to somewhat to normal again, but it will take a while. Okay, it will take a while because people are scared that this thing might raise its head again and spike up something again, and you go into a second batch of malevolence. So that is not something that we want to do. We want to eradicate this virus throughout the world. If you look at it, by the way, you look at Europe. If you look at Europe as, say, one country, and you look at the amount of problems there and the amount of deaths and new deaths and cases still rising up, it is phenomenal, and it's not even funny anymore. So I think what will happen, I think that most countries the borders will come back again. I do believe. I think here in Sarawak there's quite a tight scenario here, which I'm very, very pleased about. I think that Chief Minister has done a phenomenal job there, to sort of close up on these things. Because that is really what's needed, and I know it doesn't sound nice for some people, but at the end of the day, this is life and death, and it's not just a little flu that's coming around. So I think that these are the things that will be looked at. You'll be looking at medical cards, maybe, those kind of things, to just sort of ease people's minds, as it were. But I do believe that everything will get back to normal again once this whole thing is wiped out. But I do believe that there will be an added dimension with these virtual meetings. I think that is definitely a win-win in any case, even if it gets back to normal, because it simply means you can actually tap into more business throughout the world. And I think that is a very good thing. I think that you can't lose when you go that route. I think a lot of people, we've been looking at packages like that, and it's fairly expensive. It's a good couple of million ringgit. But I believe that, honestly, if you can live stream conferences or tap into conferences all over the world, then I think it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned for the future.
Thanks, Eric. I think, I like that point you raised, that redundancy in terms of employees. I think it would be more expensive if you go on the way of retrenching and then rehiring, and either you rehire the same person or you have to retrain a new person who doesn't know about your business. And I think that's you mentioned about I think someone mentioned about reformatting our business, and I think our employees or staff will also have to be reformatted. So you have to retrain them on the new digital world that they have to be aware of, and they need to know how to run a webinar. I just learned today how to run a webinar. So all these things are something new that all of them will probably have to learn. Instead of making them redundant, make them useful for you in your other new businesses that you're going to go into. And talking about new businesses, and Ellen mentioned that they're going to ID. Would it be wise for businesses to diversify for the time being into other areas of business that could hold them on for maybe the next year or a year and a half until this thing is slightly more stable? What do you guys think?
Just quickly on that, very, very quick. I mentioned earlier on in my talk that we've all got core segments in our business, right? That's what our business is all about. In BCCK, we've also focused over the last few years, we focused on non-core business, like outside catering. There's not many convention centers that go out and do catering all over the place. These are things that we need to look out for. I think basically our business model is that of a vertical kairetsu, which is basically finding more revenue streams. That's really what it sort of comes down to in our line of business. So we don't want to go all of a sudden and do something in petrochemical markets, but we stick to what we know best. And that's the thing for me. I think we will focus more on that as well moving forward. But again, we're not going to lose out on the core thought as well of what we're in business for. Just one quick thing there. You see, our staff, it's not their fault, right? It's not as if they've done something wrong. So why would we want to punish anyone?
Yep.
So, and again, the knock is there for everybody. So I think we need to take this on the chin. We need to make plans, get a recovery plan on the table, and work hard when things are back to normal and spark up again. So that's what I believe.
Okay. I just want to make this one point and maybe a question to all of you guys. There's a talk about pent-up demand, or a return of consumerism after all this period of decreased spending. So after this, people will want to travel, they want to spend money and buy stuff, they want to meet all their old connections in trade fairs. So ITB Berlin was cancelled or postponed, so we couldn't meet our business partners. So after this, maybe next year or mid next year, do you think there will be a surge in people who want to attend events, who want to buy stuff, who want to travel, who want to visit, national parks? Do you think that's going to happen, or when? Maybe Ellen, you want to talk about that?
Okay, back. We're looking at the situation in China now at Wuhan and Hubei. So the graph is a V shape, meaning to say it's jump up very fast. Wuhan is going to open, I think, for the first next 2 days. Wuhan is leaving is going to open already. So my friend in Beijing, right now on the consumer market, everybody stay at like Hai Di Lao or this, they stay there for whole day. And for consumer market, it's going to bounce back very, very quick.
And how about the travel line? Mok, do you see people suddenly wanting to travel, or or national parks will suddenly be full, like that mountain in China? I saw, I think it's a disaster for too many people to be there at one point, too close to the pandemic. But do you see that happening maybe next year to Sarawak?
Yeah, Mota, I think I agree there will be a very big jump, a big rebound, because as human, we are nature lover. So we can't wait to go back to the wood. We can't wait to go back to see our parks and things like that. I just hope by then, Sarawak Forestry will not increase their entrance fee. Because suddenly there's an increase, and then the boardman will start raising their board fee. We just don't want this thing to happen. We just want them to take it easy, and probably they may want to do like some limitations, so they don't let too many visitors going, so they can actually segment it in such a way that the backpackers, the budget traveler, they are the one who are always nuisance. They make a lot of lousy things, and they'll be the one who disturb a lot of regulations that we don't want. So let the proper licensed tourism player do their parts. So if they can work together with the private sector well, with some control, then I think nature will still be on. Nature tourism will still be on, for sure. Ecotourism. Yeah, that's my point of view. But we have to wait until next year. Yeah, I don't know what we can do. Probably food delivery,
You can do char kway teow lah.
Baju or what. Char kway teow, yes.
Yeah,
Call me. Yeah.
That brings me to the point for events. I think talking about digital events and all that, human beings by nature, we want to meet with people. We're social animals. So do you think this pent-up demand will also apply to events? That means by next year, maybe people will be hungry for face-to-face conferences, meetings, events, music festivals, and all that. Gracie, you want to talk about that?
I think shows or expos or exhibitions, consumer shows will come back because people like what we all say, we want to get up, but with installed regulations, you can't walk too near each other, or all those stuff. In fact, if I can add, MySep and Marcios and A Life are going to have we're going to have a chat. I think on the 9th of April, it's going to be led by Para, and together with MySep and Marcios, we are looking at an SOP to discuss what sort of regulations, indoor event, outdoor event, conference, workshops, buffet lines, and all that. What kind of what does the Ministry of Health want, or what are they agreeable with, so that, because we can't close shop and we cannot say no more conferences, no more mass gatherings, but what kind of mass gatherings? And it's like saying you can't pray and you can't go to church, you can't go to the mosque. It's not going to happen. It will continue, but how it will be conducted is something I think we all need to be, that's the next phase for us. And I feel in terms of events, I just want to touch on events part and conferences, where maybe for us industry people, like what Alan is doing, that we look at us, other businesses that where we already have the expertise or the relevant experience within our core team, that Alan has got experienced people, and he's not rehiring, he's just upskilling them, into another area for now. And I'm sure Alan is still in the exhibition business. But one area I think I would like to I think will work well, is that homegrown events. At one time, there was a big talk on homegrown events. That then, of course, that's for another chat next time. But we should look at nurturing and improving and globalize our homegrown events. That means our homegrown events will be good for international consumption. Be it a conference, we can do our own conferences, we can do our own expos. It will come back, but it's just installations. But for now, for the consumer part, I feel will be the first to come back. They will. So exhibitions, expo will come back. Conferences may take a little while, but we're working on it.
Okay, Eric, you had something to say.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is, I think that I agree with Mark and Alan. I think tourism in general will bounce back really heavily, for the simple reason that countries need tourists, right? So I also don't believe that there will be price hikes. In fact, I think it will be the other way around. I think a lot of stuff will be going back to normal prices. And you see sometimes in countries that it's extremely expensive. I think these countries will have to wake up slightly and try and get people back in again. And once you've got masses back in again, then you can start hiking the price again. So, and the same goes for business tourism. Our MICE, I call it business tourism, but the MICE business, that will bounce back too. Of course, it's going to take a bit of time. This year is a write-off. So we're really focusing on next year, and so that's what we have to do. That's sort of in a nutshell for now.
Okay, I have one very interesting question, and I think it's great if you guys can comment. What will be the best way to market the sector at the moment? That means this business event sector. How can we market this sector at the moment for us to recover from this? Anyone wants to start?
I'll just take one. I think we have.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, great.
Can I just? I think marketing and Malaysia as a whole needs to be a bit much more aggressive. We got to get back there in the marketplace and say, as you know, we were all registered to attend IMAX, and that got cancelled. But there will be other shows, there'll be other areas, but marketing more aggressively and coming back and say we're ready with the solutions. I.e., people want to know, what are you doing? How are you going to be handling future conferences from now on? I think we will get through to that situation. Okay, Eric, for you.
Eric?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, just like businesses are working on economic recovery plans, I think that countries are doing the same thing. And I would think that STB and the Ministry of Tourism are doing exactly that already, of how we can tap into getting more tourists in for next year. So, because at the end of the day, it is about bulk, and although I would say Sarawak is a bit of a niche market, right, in terms of tourism. I think they must work on these kind of plans to get that back back on par again. So I think in general, I think it will rebound. But I do believe, as Alan has said, I think a lot of people will change their business models in case this kind of malevolence happens again.
Thanks. I think that brings us also to the next one. There is this concept or movement called Kita Jaga Kita. It's a hashtag. It means we protect our own, or we need to support our local businesses, our local char kway teow sellers or hawkers and all that. So this concept of Kita Jaga Kita, do you think this could be a good marketing angle? It means that we sell our own homegrown events, we sell our own locally managed venues or hotels, local companies, local domestic tourism products. Will that be a good way to start marketing at this current moment?
It's one of it, marketing for domestic tourism. Finally, I think we come to understand and appreciate the fact that your own people are the ones who are there to support you when times are bad. So I think we should not forget our local market. Yes, like what China is doing, domestic tourism, they have the bulk and the people, and the sentiments of Kita Jaga Kita means we support each other. However, I feel and I think we are also, here I speak Borneo, Sabah, Sarawak, Brunei, or East Malaysia, where I feel that we have the elements to attract also the international market. So what I mean by marketing is that we got to be out there, we got to be very visible, and to also show that we are ready. We are ready, we are cleared, we are good to go, and we've got everything in place. And this how ironic for me to say this, but maybe this is the year for us to clean up, to clean up and get everything there. And once we get out, so whoever's in charge of doing the marketing or responsible for the brand destination for Malaysia, for Sabah, Sarawak, we've got to continue very strongly to be visible, branding ourselves, marketing ourselves out there. We can't cut that budget, because that's usually a lot of the times the first thing they do is cut the marketing budget out and try to conserve, try to reduce costs to cover back for whatever is lost this year. There is no way to cover back for whatever is lost this year, but we can use up this lost time this year to prepare for the next our business wave.
Eric?
No, I fully agree with Gracie. I think if people start panicking now and again laying off people, that would not be a good thing. Now's the time to actually just strengthen your base. And again, you mentioned something earlier on with this particular group that you're talking about. Again, that's right here in Sarawak. That's right here. And so we need to, we're all in the same boat, as it were. All right. And I think business will be generated from within first, as it is now. The supermarkets are doing extremely well because everybody's hoarding food, right? So they're not complaining.
Yep.
And you can't blame them because they're in the business of that. And thank God they've got food for us, right?
Yep.
On the other hand, they're making a lot of money. These delivery services that we were talking about earlier, they're making a lot of money. They're laughing right now, but not because there's a pandemic. I don't think that people think that way in general, but I call it resilience. Okay. And people will make plans, and so will we. We will overcome this. We'll do better in the future again. But with an added thought, of course, that when this kind of thing strikes again, that we'll be able to better deal with it. Because I think that I'm 55 years old, but this is the first time that I've had to sit home for this longer period. You know what I mean? It's just unheard of. It's not a good thing. I've never seen so many movies in my life before. So, but having said that, again, this is serious, and but we'll overcome it. But we cannot be morbid about these things. We have all the heart for these people that are sick, but at the same time, life continues, and also for them. You know what I mean? And that's what we got to believe in. And again, we'll bounce back.
Great stuff. Okay, we are almost up to 1 hour. I don't think want to take up too much time from the rest.
Yeah.
we'll continue maybe on a second, episode of this webinar. Sorry, Eric, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just saw a question earlier on. Somebody asked about the Ramadan,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Look, a couple of days ago in the newspaper, Chief Minister said that there should be no Ramadan bazaars, okay? That is not allowed. And so by default, it means that our Ramadan is simply cancelled because we cannot have that amount of people. And we have over a normal Ramadan sort of period, we have 35,000 plus people coming to us. Well, there's also that 50 people scenario there that not more than 50 people are allowed to move around. Well, it's all gone off the table now.
Yep.
So Raya, all these things will not happen. That's why I said earlier that we're looking at ways to bring Ramadan to your house maybe, and also use Panda and all these Grabs and all these other ones that are floating about, and even do
Yeah.
something ourselves maybe, delivering goods. But again, we can't do too much for the simple reason is that we can't just have a small brigade working, you know what I mean, where everyone else is sitting at home. So we need to sort of balance this thing out. And we're in the midst of thinking what we would want to do and if we really would want to do it, because we don't want to have too much movement around. Otherwise, this whole MCO thing also doesn't make sense. So we need to be mindful about these things. And we'll make a decision within the next week or two. And we'll let everybody know, so don't panic. Everybody, if we have canceled, everyone will get their money back. So don't worry about any of that. We're not going to run away. And so don't worry. No panic there.
We know where you live, so yeah, we can't.
You know
run
where
away.
we live, exactly.
Oh yeah, I saw that announcement on Instagram, and yeah, I think all the money back will be refunded soon. I think you've got a lot to do there. And Gracie, you wanted to say something?
Yes, this is the first time we're having this just industry partners kind of live chat off the cuff. I think this is great. Maybe Mona, you might want to consider to maybe do this in a fortnight to cover the areas,
Whew.
some work, but specifically maybe to cover other areas like festivals and events, so that we approach, there are many people out there who are event organizers, wedding planners and all that. They probably also would love to be in part. And also for those of us in the business events industry, I just want to mention tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Masios is conducting a live talk as well, and we'll post this up, and I hope if there's anything more that our attendees would like, they could also go in. It's tomorrow night at 9 p.m. just nice after dinner, nothing to do at home, and we can all sit there and listen, and probably get more insights and views from other members of our industry. And can you post it up, Mona?
We can do that on our Facebook. I think I'm
Yeah,
not sure how to
put
do
it
it
on
here.
Facebook. So I hope people can attend. But one thing before I close off, I must say I've learned a new skill while staying at home during this MCO. Other than learning to make a lot of lousy bread, I've also learned how to cut my own hair.
Oh my God.
Nice my hair.
That's
Thank you
great,
very
great.
much.
Okay, actually, before we end, I would just like to round up everyone. You talked about where life goes on, we have to move forward. So I'd like to just have maybe the first step that you guys are gonna do after this MCO is over. What are you gonna do with your business? So that maybe some of us businesses can think of the first step that we can take. Ellen, maybe we'll start with you.
Okay, for the next 6 months, I mean, like what we have mentioned, we just train our worker to be what they are specialized in. To others, even we have inquiry from General Hospital for the sanitizer tunnel. So that is our specialty, specialized also. Instead of we rent it, we do production and supply to hospital.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your first step, for recovery after this.
Yeah. A suggestion for Eric, maybe on BCCK part, you can do a drive-through. I think the bus bay is very ideal for drive-through to pick up the food for Ramadan.
Wow.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have thought about it.
Wow. Okay. Gracie, what's your first step after the MCO for recovery plan for Place Borneo?
I think the three areas that I would like to, in fact, doing it now. Number one is to develop homegrown events and to see what kind of events and conferences and all that. And number two, what we are already doing, we have our research people. What I want to see us do is expand on our research and convert a lot of our people, because we have no existing events to plan on. So we will retraining new work scope, understand, and as a trainer myself, so I want to train people to understand, to look for potential bids and all that. So admin marketing and all that, we can all go through it, because that's bidding is 2-3 years from now. So we prepare now, we start into it, then I think we can bounce back faster. Meantime, I know our government, the Malaysian government, they're trying their best to help. Business events industry, we are one of the least known industry, yet we are a major contributor to the economy of Malaysia. It's just that people don't understand, maybe they understand MICE or tourism. So it will take a while for people to understand. But meantime, I think we got to work in reskilling. We got to look at like what Alan is saying, there are other business opportunities our existing manpower can work on. Thank you.
Thanks. And Eric, what's your first step after this MCO?
The first step is, I think, focus on local business. Okay, I think we have to simply focus on that first. Start from within our own area. Look, we mustn't forget we are in a state election year, right? So I'm hoping that once this all sort of moves away and that people are allowed to meet up again, that we will be hit quite heavily with people wanting to come to BCCK. I think we were very busy, and I think these people will simply come back to us. So our focus will be local business first. But again, we've been behind the scenes working on all these other areas to look into the future. But that will be the first thing, local business.
Okay, great stuff. And Mok, what's your first step after this MCO for recovery?
I think, as what I have mentioned, we will try to do a reformat of the company structure in a way like the conduct of our business. We got to do upskill or reskill of our staff, multitasking, trying to balance with those which we need a lot of R&D, especially on homegrown specialized liaison officer or guides. And I think it's very good to do a very deep brainstorming among our team to make sure that we strengthen our best to restart. So this 6-month period, I think it's a very good time for us to do this. So once we come back, and of course we are still also learning from our overseas contractor or our travel agents overseas, inputting us every now and then with some informations. The cruise line company also has been telling us things, because the cruise liner can't come in now. So we are taking up informations from them also, how they survive at the same time. Yeah, I think things are changing, so we have to cope with the changes. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's great, and I like what you guys all have shared, and I think it's going to be very useful for all our attendees. I see Melvin Chu raised his hand, but I'm afraid we're out of time. So if you have any other questions, you can always email it to us. Email me, mona@placeborneo.com, or just put it on our Facebook. I'm sorry, we're running out of time and we can't go on forever. And thank you to all the speakers, and we'll see you guys next time, I guess. See you.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you, Mona.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you, everyone.